Welcome all hunters, anglers, trappers, and shooters to the only fish and wildlife conservation podcast that goes behind the scenes of the business of conservation, the Connecting with Conservation podcast. Our podcast is hosted by John Gassett from the Wildlife Management Institute and Jim Cucaruto of the Outdoor Stewards of Conservation Foundation. John and Jim will talk with experts from all sectors of the conservation arena about their passion for conserving the great outdoors. So please welcome our hosts of the Connecting with Conservation podcast, John and Jim.
Welcome to another episode of Connecting with Conservation. I'm John Gassett with the Wildlife Management Institute.
Hey, and I'm Jim Cucaruto with Outdoor Stewards Conservation Foundation. Thanks for listening in. We got another special guest with us here today.
I'm David Wielicki with the South Carolina Waterfowl Association and our Wildlife Education Center in South Carolina.
All right, well, we're at the big fishing conference, and you're with the South Carolina Waterfowl Association. What the heck are you doing at a fishing conference, Dave?
Well, we have the nation's largest wildlife education center. We educate thousands of kids. We're creating new customers for all of these fishing industry people every day. And we have a lot of great sponsors that help us to teach kids how to fish, how to hunt, how to shoot, and to teach kids about conservation.
Yeah, and I was just joking about that because I went to your place there in central South Carolina just a couple of months ago, and I was amazed at the complex that you have there. And it's not just waterfowl. You've got target shooting. You've got all sorts of stuff from fishing and a new aviary and ranges and stuff like that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, I guess, start out with who you bring there, why you bring them there, and what are some of the things they do?
Yeah, so I'm a wildlife biologist. I studied at Delta Waterfowl and worked for Ted Turner when I started out in the 80s, and I got the idea to start a state waterfowl conservation organization. At that time, not a lot was being done. We had great work by Ducks Unlimited and Delta, and so we started there doing habitat work. And when I got started, my dad always challenged me. He was a very successful businessman. He said, "Son, what matters more, wildlife habitat or people?" And I, of course, said, "Wildlife habitat, Dad." And he laughed at me. He said, "No, son, you gotta motivate people to care about it." And so that set us on this path of trying to develop an education center. And we started back in '94. Got a facility from Safety's Clean Corporation. It was a clay mine, which we converted all back to wetlands, expanded it from 350 to 1,600 acres. And I've almost bankrupted us twice doing it, but it's, if we don't pass on what we love to the next generation, it's not going to be there. We've got to recruit new fishermen, new hunters, new shooting sports enthusiasts, new trappers, everything that you're doing, Jim. Yeah. And then we also have to educate the general public about what we do, the science behind it, so that the acceptance level is there, so that we are allowed to hunt and fish and shoot and trap. So that's what it's all about.
So it's great that you're here. I hear you're here, talking to industry partners, even though it's not a hunting show or a waterfowl show, but because I think our industry, more than any other one that I'm aware of, is they're not just transactional relationships; they're partnerships. Whether they're angling manufacturers that help support things that you do, or you support things they do, or whether, as your dad said, worry about the people. We need the habitat, but if you don't take care of the people, then you get back to that sort of transactional thing. It's bigger than that. We all got to work together to make conservation work.
Exactly, and it's a lot of fun when you pull an industry CEO out of his element, get him back out in the field hunting or fishing, and you start talking about these issues as to, why did you get involved? Why did you? And they get it. They see it. They they want to help as much as they can. Sure, they've got to pay attention to the bottom line, but they want to help any way that they can. So we have a lot of industry partners like True Timber Camo, and Rather Outdoors is getting involved with us. Palmetto State Armory is a huge supporter. And, those companies like to come. They like to be affiliated with youth education. They're helping us to pass it on.
Yeah. And one of the things we've worked really hard to do with our industry relations work that Jim and I both work on is making sure that the folks that are, they're paying the bills through excise tax and other, that they're appreciated. It doesn't take much to invite them to cut a ribbon on a boat ramp or a new wildlife management area. But it builds that sort of partnership and trust relationship rather than just taking their money and using it for what we think is best.
Exactly. And we do a lot with Honda too. We've just gotten a great relationship with Honda Power Sports. Those people care about it. They care about conservation. They care about youth. So we're on the march to try to educate other people about what we're doing. Bringing in those industry ambassadors. We just had Mr. Crappie there at summer camp. We have about 1,400 kids this summer that are coming to our summer camp Woody program. The ambassadors come in, and what's cool about it is, Mr. Crappie has 120,000 followers on his YouTube channel. Then everybody sees, hey, look at this education center. Why don't we have this in our state? Why don't we have so it helps to spread the word. Rob Keck was there the other day teaching the kids how to cape out a wild turkey and skin a beaver and a raccoon. And, just for someone like Rob, who's a conservation icon, to give his time and to work with the kids, that's the cool thing. The people that have been successful and care about it want to give back. So.
Well, I like that you're well-rounded there. You're kind of do what outdoor stewards, we call them hats, right? You do the hunting, you do the angling, you do the touch on trapping, and then target shooting. I saw a press release the other day with you signed something with Smith & Wesson, and so you've got everybody involved, and you mentioned Honda too, so maybe reach out outside a little bit of the industry as well, which is great.
Exactly, and we're I'm a big supporter of the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation. I really love what they do. One of the movements that we're trying to do is to develop a model in our state in South Carolina for youth education. We're working with our legislature on funding to get every fourth grader to an outdoor environmental conservation education program, whether it's Clemson 4-H or our program or any other camp that wants to do that, to improve the mental health of kids, all the studies show it improves their cognitive abilities. It gets them in the outdoors, which, we've got to work on this acceptance level. We're losing that. We've got to teach kids the science. We do a summer camp for all the kids that want to hunt and fish. Then we have Camp Leopold during the school year, and we go into the schools. We'll reach 25,000 kids this year in the schools, but trying to, teach those kids the science behind conservation. It's okay to cut a tree. It's okay to shoot a duck or catch a fish as long as we're doing it on a sustainable basis, right? That's what you're doing, Jim, which is awesome. And we've got to focus on both sides, the R3 side and the public acceptance side. And, the industry is, I think, becoming more and more attuned to that thanks to what you're doing. So we're also in there working to educate everybody we can. We're Palmetto State Armory. One of the cool things they do for us, they do what's called the Mega Conservation Education Raffle. They allowed us to market that to their 5 million customers. We raised $1.2 million to expand our education center and give scholarships to veterans and their kids and grandchildren. Their customers love it. They're now letting us do that twice a year. That's a commitment from them, and they, in addition to all the money they donate. But that company is really, they want to see this model passed on, and they get it. They're just a great group of people, and how many companies will let you send 16 emails a year to
Sure.
over 5 million customers
to their customer base?
Yes,
exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
So that shows that commitment, which is really cool, and but they all get it, and most of the industry gets it. You guys see that, and it's. We just got to be innovative too, right? We got to come up with ways that are win-win where we're all helping each other out.
Well, one of the things that we've seen with our work with industry is, they don't mind being a partner. They don't mind contributing. They don't mind sharing access to their data. But what they don't want is for you to waste their time or spin their wheels. That, if you're doing things that are moving the needle, they're right there with you. But, for groups that don't do that, they have very short tolerance for those.
Oh, exactly. And, it's all about helping each other. Larry Yon with the Wildlife Management Institute was one of my early mentors who really helped me, really encouraged me to, and I don't forget that. I mean, it's wonderful to meet you, John, and the work that you're doing. The Wildlife Management Institute is a legendary organization in conservation, and, those are we all got to work together. And
we like to say we're one of the best stories never told. Everybody says everybody knows us, but nobody really knows what we do, and we're working to change that.
Oh yeah,
We're sort of inside
you should
baseball.
start a podcast.
Oh, we should start a podcast. I tell you, one of the things that excites me is that I hope to show our age here a little bit, but it's sort of cyclic what you see with kids these days, and I remember going to high school where kids had shotguns in their racks of their windows of their pickup trucks, and they'd hunt on the way home or on a trap line, or and then so we went through a fairly long period where that was unacceptable. And that part probably still is, but now we're seeing things like NASP, National Archery in Schools program, come back into schools, small bore air rifle competitions and teams, scholastic sporting clays and archery teams, and so we're and angling, bass fishing tournaments and high school tournament teams that so we sort of, that was our history and our sort of tradition, and we moved away from it, but the pendulum's starting to swing back a little bit.
I think it is too. I think all the educators have realized how important the outdoors is to the mental health of these kids, and they're more focused on it now. They're beginning to realize we've lost a lot of that with social media, with the screen time that kids are all engaged in. So the needle is beginning to move the other way, and we just want to help in any way possible to make a difference in that arena. And a lot of it's educating these parents too, right?
Sure.
I mean, you've got a lot of parents that need to be educated to help understand, how do you get your kid into this? What other opportunities do you have? Where's that repetition? We have what's called outdoor heritage events where we have parent-child duck hunts, deer hunts, dove hunts, fishing tournaments every weekend. And while we're doing that, we not only have a great event for the parents and the kids, but we also try to show that parent, okay, where else can you go? What's your interest? Do you love to deer hunt with your child? Well, here's some clubs you can get into. Or we helped start the South Carolina Wildlife Partnership, which is getting private landowners to give hunts for the public draw program with SCDNR. And here's a chance. It's all about that repetition, trying to create opportunities for your child to enjoy more outdoor experiences, and for you to do it also.
And you're in a great state for that too. I think I've had a lot of long history with South Carolina, growing up in an adjacent state in Georgia, and I think I told you earlier, it's like I never knew what waterfowl were till they bypassed Georgia. I went to South Carolina on a field trip in grad school, and it's like, wow, there's ducks everywhere here. So coastal South Carolina is a mecca for outdoor recreation.
It is. It's great fishing, great hunting. And there's a great tradition of land stewardship. A lot of the old rice plantations that were there in the 1800s, they were bought up by a lot of people from the Northeast, and you've had a lot of land that's been put into conservation easements in the Ace Basin, which is a phenomenal program. Tom Yawkey with the Boston Red Sox, South Island, and a lot of land that's been set aside, which is great. We had the highest growth rate of any state in the nation last year, and it's great that we have a lot of land that has been conserved, and that's really important. And we try to. One of the things we're trying to do with our model, we have our education center. We've also helped to develop 44 hunting clubs around us on 30,000 acres of land. We do get-togethers, events to try to reinforce the cultural aspect of the outdoors. We have a Birdfest Bluegrass Festival we do every year. We're working on an outdoor heritage expo with Palmetto State Armory, a big fish and game fair event where people can come and try any gun or bow, or the South Carolina Boating and Fishing Alliance we're working with, and also Farm Bureau. We've got Farm Bureau involved. Everybody. The people who are farmers, they're just like us, right? They all love to hunt and fish. They own the land. So we're trying to reach out and work with all those groups, and work with them also on trying to get our legislature to make a commitment to the youth of our state, to get these kids outdoors. And every state needs to do it.
All right, so I want to go back to what you touched on earlier, the cultural acceptance of hunting, fishing, trapping, and shooting. And you touched on we're starting to lose the middle, right? So there's 280 million adults in America that are voting age adults, and historically 80% of them say, I might not fish or hunt, but it's okay for Dave to. But through research we've seen, unfortunately, a little bit of a decline in that. So we don't want that to decline further, and we've determined some of the reasons why that's happening. We're really good at funding conservation. We being hunters, anglers, trappers, and shooters, the hats out there, 60 million hats. We're really good at taking care of land and water and managing property. We're really good at feeding ourselves and our friends and our family and the homeless, and helping solve that hunger crisis. We're really bad at communicating, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons why, John, I started. We got to promote the positive contributions of what the 60 million hunters, anglers, and trappers are doing, funding conservation, by far the number one funder of conservation through our hunting and fishing licenses, and then the excise tax products we buy. Clean up the environment like nobody else. When we're outdoors and we come across, a piece of trash when we're out hunting, we take it out of the woods and waters with us. Don't tell anybody about it. Fund conservation. Don't tell anybody about it. So that's what we got to do a better job of now. And you touched on, you're doing that now as well at South Carolina Waterfowl Association. So keep that up.
Well, and it's, the thing that I wonder about is also how strong is that approval rating?
Right. It's 80%, right? But
it's 80, but how strongly do those people feel about it?
Right, exactly. It's teetering, right? And if they only hear one message, right, and that 80% gone down to 76%, we need to get it back up to 80 and strengthen it from there. And just, we got the answers. We do some good stuff. We just don't communicate.
Well, and we have the science that backs it all up. And that's the fascinating thing when I get a group of kids that come to our school year camp. And we may have 160 kids, and you've got 20 adults and teachers. And when you start to go, we have 20 classes we do, and they're all, everything from wetland ecology to ornithology to forestry, soil conservation. When you talk about the science behind all of this, everybody gets it. It's just explaining it, educating it. The fourth grade level kids they're all getting into that level in their curriculum and the state and federal standards to learn about the environment. And it's these kids get it. It's common sense, right? It's a funny. I always use this analogy. My wife grew up on a farm in Georgia, near Cadwell, Georgia. She's a Georgia girl, and my wife does not hunt. She likes to fish. But she thinks anyone who doesn't like hunting and fishing and trapping or farming or forestry is crazy.
Right.
Because she's connected to the land
Sure.
and understands
Right.
it. And we just, we don't have that. I mean, one of the cool things we're doing now, too, is we have the only wildlife management apprentice program in the country. We have 9 apprentices now. We train these young professionals on how to be land managers because we have this great problem. You ran an agency. It's hard to find people that have experience managing habitat because no one grows up on a farm anymore. So we're trying to fill that void. We have a lot of challenges, and we've got to. My message when I talk to industry folks, I'm sure you guys do too. It's like we have got to invest more in this.
Well, we're going through some, various evolutions. We went, state agencies, for years, they didn't have to worry about marketing to potential customers. People wanted to hunt and fish. That was the only game in town. You had to go get your license from the agency. We didn't have to go try to recruit them. They came to us. Now we're competing with, travel ball teams, football, baseball, soccer, basketball that pretty much run 12 months a year. It's a competition for customers now. So we're having to change. Agencies are having to change the way they approach their approach to recruiting customers. And I'm a very traditional type person. I always thought, I hunt and fish because I like to hunt and fish, and I talk about it in those terms. But I've changed, sort of my approach to, do you like clean air? Do you like clean water? Do you like carbon sequestered? Do you like a healthy environment? I don't care if you ever hunt or fish or not, but if you like those things, think a hunter and angler because we're the ones paying the bills for a lot of that work. And through the excise tax, and license purchase and all that. And, we talk about the user pay but public benefit approach to conservation. And I've actually changed sort of my outlook on that because that's how you win the 80% in the middle. is you can't talk about it in terms of we like to kill deer or we like to kill ducks. It's we are out there paying money, and yes, we're recreating, but that money is purchasing land, sequestering carbon, keeping waters clean, filtering, filter strips around rivers and streams. So, I encourage folks, if you don't hunt or fish, but you like a healthy environment, buy a fishing license, buy a $20 fishing license, buy a hunting license, because that gets matched with the federal, the excise tax dollars. And there's just in licenses and those excise taxes is $4 billion a year in conservation funding in this country. And there's a ton of organizations out there, the big land protection organizations that globally may spend that a year, but I don't think there's any other machine out there that spends $4 billion a year on conservation in this country. Nobody can even come close to it.
Well, and the people, I worked for Ted Turner for a couple of years. I'm not sure exactly the acreage, but it's over 2 million. He loves to hunt and fish. Every acre that he has is in a conservation easement. The properties are endowed. They'll be there. And you can go hunt and fish on his properties. You can do that. And those people that are the passionate fishermen, hunters, those are the people that want to own the land. They want to manage it. And that impact is unbelievable. I mean, just the people that do crazy things, spend ridiculous amounts of money to buy property, to put a conservation easement on it, manage it for fish and wildlife. It's my favorite thing to do on the weekend, right? We'll get on the tractor and manage habitat, and it's awesome. I mean, and if we, once these kids, what's fascinating at our center, if you come there, one of my favorite things, I go in the morning, I talk to all the kids while they're eating breakfast. And you get kids that have never, it's amazing how many kids have never had an outdoor experience. They get there, we don't let them have any phones. They don't even think about it after 30 minutes. They're immersed in the outdoors. They love it. They get excited about it. And when they leave, you think, man, maybe I made a new conservationist. Maybe I made somebody who's got an appreciation now for the outdoors. And that's all it takes, to send them on that path that is going to change their life if we reach them young enough.
Well, you've done a lot for a lot of kids and a lot of other people out there. So what are you doing for fun now? You're here at ICAST. You live right there on the lake, right? Next to where you are.
Jim,
are you going to have any time for yourself?
Jim, I have. I wish I could take credit for this, but I have what's called wife season. So I'm in the middle of wife season right now. It's
smart man.
And my wife's at Cocoa Beach right now at the beach. Tonight I'm going to take her to dinner, and I try to have a really good wife season so I can have a great hunting season.
There you go.
Because I duck hunt a lot.
Take some notes here.
Yes, and I just I learned a long time ago. I've been married 35 years, so it's working. And I really try hard to have a strong wife season. So that's it. But I do enjoy myself. I get to be around people like you that I enjoy being around every day. And I don't know that I'll ever retire unless the board retires me. So.
All right. Well, I know you got to be gearing up for waterfowl season too, because that'll be here in a heartbeat too. And you've got a lot of property get ready.
Yeah, we got a lot of impoundments. We have some great parent-child youth hunting programs that we do, and we're excited. We've got hundreds of acres of impoundments that we manage, and all the clubs around us, there's about 4,500 acres of waterfowl impoundments we've helped to create, and really cool atmosphere. All those guys, they all come together. We take every child that isn't drawn on the State Youth Waterfowl Day. We take about 80 kids a year, and all the clubs participate. We call that our Pintail Partners program. We've got DU and Delta Waterfowl, the Harry Hampton Wildlife Fund, DNR, and our group. And we all work together to get that done, which is incredible. But it's exciting to see that community work together just to, let's produce more hunters and fishermen.
Well, tell everybody where they can find more information, maybe how they can sign up to their kids there, or,
Yeah, you can go to just scwa.org, and you can click on our Wildlife Education Center to learn about Camp Woody, our summer program, to learn about our school year camp. Right now we're giving away 100 scholarships to veterans, to their children and grandchildren to attend our Camp Woody program next summer. You can go on our website and sign up for that. We're going to randomly draw 100 scholarship recipients. That money was raised through our Palmetto State Armory raffle. But, click on that if you're a veteran out there and you want to get a scholarship for your child or grandchild to go to camp. That's a wonderful opportunity to do it. We try to have a couple hundred scholarships a year for kids, and we're going to be doing that every year.
Appreciate doing everything you're doing. Keep it up. And any last words there,
Dave,
John?
Thanks for coming on. This has really been a treat. Love what you're doing there. You got a great organization. I have to give shout out to South Carolina DNR is one of the top in the country. I mean, they really go out of their way to do the types of things you're doing. They're a great partner. Y'all are a shining star in conservation. So thank you for being.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And for our listeners, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the woods or on the water.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Connecting with Conservation podcast. Please do us a favor and tell your buddies, friends, family, and others about what you've learned here today. If you like what you heard, come on back anytime and listen to another episode of the Connecting with Conservation podcast.